Welcome back to the Roundup, where we've got some honestly crazy stories, like the most popular Final Fantasy XIV mod having malware put in it to teach naughty people a lesson, and then getting nuked, including by GitHub. So, going to be mad. First, though, we've got both NetEase and Activision-Blizzard having to pay a whole bunch of money. There's a bit of a difference, though, because, the NetEase one seems to be rather optional.
I'm not sure if it's optional or if it's... I don't think there's any law, but it is very much them footing the bill. So I know...
Yeah,
I don't know how much a breakup has ever cost you, but it's not going to be as much as it's cost these.
I mean, still, it's got nothing on, like, Bill and Melinda Gates. But, yes, local players in China have lost access to World of Warcraft. Yes, all the Blizzard services are gone in China. And, any unused currency for World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, Overwatch, whatever, will be eligible for refunds up until the 30th of June. And currently, the number of requests has surpassed 1 million. Currently, and this is up until the 30th of June, and we're looking at between 1 to 300 yuan for these, which is like 14 to 44 bucks US. So that's going to be a really costly breakup.
Yeah, you're talking like maybe somewhere between there 140 and 440 million. Based on those numbers. No, sorry, 14 million, 44 million.
Yeah, but it's only just surpassed 1 million, and this stays open till June. So maybe that ends up being 1.6 million.
It could be an awful...
I don't know why I said 0.6, but a lot more.
It could be an awful lot of money ultimately in the end, and all because they just couldn't get their story straight and go, hey, yeah. And that's the funny thing about refunds. Refunds, I think, sting more than anything else, because that was money that people gave you. And they're like, here, you can have money for this. And you're like, yeah, that's how a business works. And it's like, oh yeah, we'll factor this into our costs. All of our running will be done this way. And it's like, hey, see that money we gave you? We kind of need it back.
You have to perform some unbusiness.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's unbusiness. It's like, yeah, sorry, we'll just reverse that. Like, but we've already, in the case of, we've already spent it. Oh oopsies.
So sometimes the government will force you to perform some unbusiness on yourself.
Yep.
Right, so... Do you remember how Activision said to the SEC that actually they had investigated themselves and they'd found that they did nothing wrong? Yes, they basically said that there was no evidence that senior executives had intentionally downplayed or ignored any reported instances of gendered harassment. Well, now they've actually decided to settle with the Securities and Exchange Commission, who themselves actually found that they actually never really had any controls implemented to collect those reports in the first place, which I believe is, negligence, right?
Yeah, I think that is corporate not doing what corporate is very supposed to do in every way.
I mean... the games industry is kind of like renowned for having subpar corporate governance compared to boring old companies. But yes, the SEC's order has found that Activision-Blizzard failed to implement the necessary controls to collect and review employee complaints, which left it without the means to determine whether larger issues existed, or of course, in the case of it being the SEC, existed that needed to be disclosed to investors. So part of this from the SEC's position will be, investors, when they were purchasing Activision-Blizzard stock, were not fully aware of what was going on at the company, because all of this stuff is relevant to their investments.
Yeah, it's
right. So it's like breaking the rules of the market, because the people doing the investing don't have the information they should have.
Yeah, if you own shares in a company, the people running the company are supposed to say to you, oh yeah, by the way, things are going to go a wee bit scuffed because we've mismanaged all our employees. Or in the opposite, they're supposed to say, hey, this is going to be really juicy, so hold on to it. They're supposed to do both of those. In this case, they kind of went, well, we don't know any of this is happening. We don't have the reports to say that all this is very bad, which is literally just like, yeah, hey, Activision, we own your stock. You should have told us your house was on fire. They were like, oh yeah, sorry, we weren't really paying any attention. And that is it's not what you're supposed to do, to the point of actually having to pay up quite a lot of money for it, which ultimately is like, yeah, it's good, very good.
By trying to stop former employees from talking to the SEC, that may have broken the law too. So ultimately, this is a drop in the bucket in terms of money, but it is certainly a record that they've, in a very corporate sense, messed it up.
Mm-hmm.
as have our next story. So, pretty bad whenever you're accused of bullshit, right? And in this case, a snooping manager accused somebody of playing video games on a work computer. And Eric here got him cleared by conclusively proving that the graphics card on the computer could not handle the game in question. Turned out, they weren't playing the game at all. They were watching a review of a game on their break, but was actually accused of installing unauthorized third-party software on a government computer, which he didn't do, and as this guy showed, couldn't have done. So there was zero bullshit was being, zero bullshit happened. Literally, somebody watched a game review on their break, and all of that happened to them.
Yeah, so there might be a decent case to actually check what specs are in your work PC and then make sure to use them as fuel later on, or for ammo if you need to. There's no way I was playing... What's the new thing? Because I'm thinking Crysis, but that's a very old reference now, I think.
Very old.
I think a government PC could probably run Crysis now. Basically, if you're going to play a game at work and try to get away with it, at least make sure it's something that your graphics card on paper doesn't run. Because you could always, like I did with TF2 back in the day when I had a really terrible laptop. Obviously, the actual settings in the game itself couldn't go low enough, but people with deep source engine knowledge and trickery had a config file that basically meant I could run on this awful laptop at like maybe 30 FPS. It looked terrible, so maybe that's something to think about in the future. Can you run games that you shouldn't be able to and get away with it?
We merely supply you with information. Next, though, this is crazy, and this actually impacts, I think, quite a few viewers. It also impacts me and you.
Oh yeah, I literally had to go and do this yet.
Yeah, in this case, I mean, mine hadn't been updated, so I suppose it wasn't on my PC. But very realistically, this could have been on the PCs of thousands of people. Listening.
I think it probably was on mine.
Yeah, it probably was on yours too. Yeah. So, take us through it. This is crazy.
Yeah, so Gshade is basically a fork of Reshade, which is, you may have used it if you're a PC gamer, but it allows you to have a load of custom graphical effects and shaders put into your game, if it's compatible with DirectX version stuff. Gshade's a version of it that's for FF14 specifically. It has a whole bunch of changes, a whole lot of optimizations for that. It has always been excellent. It's been fantastic, because FF14 by itself, the technicality of how it looks is usually pretty good, but there's a lot of stuff missing. There's a lot of hey, this is really washed out looking for some reason. If you add a little multi-LUT to bring some of the color out, bring some saturation up, change some colors a little bit, it's very good.
Yeah, if they could just make 14, it can have colors that look like the 16 trailer. FF14 looks like ungraded footage out of a RAD camera. It's weird.
Exactly, and specifically for the more tactical aspect of it, adding some screen space ambient occlusion to that game via Gshade absolutely makes it so much better. Yeah. So much extra depth, the character models, everything. It's wonderful, and everyone used it for this reason. Everyone on PC largely anyway. And then if you've been online for a long time, like I definitely have, you certainly know when people get a little bit of power, sometimes it goes to their head, and sometimes they have very bad ideas. Sometimes they think they are, to use a nice term, the bee's knees.
They go Kiwi Farms mode.
They go full Kiwi Farms mode. So Gshade has this problem where it turns itself off every time there's an update, forcing you to update. You can't run an old version. You literally can't. You have to update it every single time, which is annoying because the installer, I don't want to say it's bad, but it is, you have to go and open the installer. You open your game, it doesn't look like how you're used to opening it, or how it's used to look. There's a pop-up saying, oh, update Gshade. You're like, so you go do that and whatever. People are like, well, this kind of sucks. There's no real reason for this. I want to run an old version. And if you use any software on PCs, you'll know there's damn good reasons to run old versions of stuff.
Often, yeah.
Absolutely, like the MuTorrent 2, was it 2.1.2, I think was the best version. Everything after was horrible. Even only like a year or two ago, they started to deprecate that for support because it was getting old. But it was still like the better version was like 5 or 6 years old. So people found a workaround. They went, okay, here's, I think it was Gshade and then Gshade were forks that went, yeah, this will let you skip the update and just run. Gshade person, they didn't like that very much. They decided to teach people who were allowing people to run Gshade without an update. They thought they would teach them a lesson in how irresponsible it is to ignore that by filling their own software with malware. I wish I was joking. If you run Gshade without updating it, it will restart your PC. And obviously, that's kind of innocent. in the
I'll
output.
be depending on what other windows are open, like lost work, problems like that.
Yeah,
File transfer,
yeah. Well, you shouldn't have your work open when you're playing F14, but anyway, I guess the most innocent, disruptive thing you could reasonably do, but it's also on a principle level complete bullshit. You do not do that. They just went, I'm just gonna throw malware in this, and then have this unhinged Discord rant about how, oh no, this was to teach you a lesson. You shouldn't be doing this.
The payload could have been anything.
Yeah, the payload could have been anything. This could have been awful, and it would have been on your head. To the people who were making Gshade, and I think Gshade's deprecated, but literally just this vendetta against someone who went, you've disobeyed my rules. You must pay. And that's what it felt like. It felt like just, I guess, a mod or a developer on an ego trip, on a power trip, going, no, you can't get away with this. It's just a lesson. Anything could have been there. I could have destroyed your PCs, but I didn't. I was teaching a lesson. I'm the beneficial overlord. I am the good dictator.
I'm a benevolent god.
Yeah, that's very much what it feels like. So it's resulted in this awful situation of people going, well, on a principle level, that's bullshit. So we have to move back to Gshade. And then people found the Gshade uninstaller doesn't do what an uninstaller should. It removes all the content, all the shaders. I think the backup doesn't even work correctly, I think. But ultimately, it also leaves the executable there. If you uninstall the version with malware, it's still there on your system. And obviously it doesn't do anything gnarly, but it could have. And it's kind of a dual lesson of...
Well, have you learned your lesson?
Yeah, so, exactly. The lesson was very much learned. Don't trust egotistical people who are making software when they get completely out of control. And it's been a massive blow to, I guess, the FF14 community, because so many people use Gshade, and it's with beautiful results for screenshots for the whole, there is the whole G posers. Obviously, they're going to have to change their name now because it's not Gshade. They're going to have to be reposers now, that being a community of people who would use Gshade to take really interesting stuff, because you can get...
If it's based out of Gpose.
Oh yeah,
the in-game command.
Yeah, as long as the Gshade doesn't come across as what it is, because Gshade's used in all of them anyway. But it also comes right at the back of FF14 having a massive bit of drama over third-party tools anyway, because they released the Omega Protocol Ultimate recently, and the world first clear was because of some internal drama, because apparently there were 11 players involved. Overall, three other people who weren't playing the game, because it's an 8-man party thing. They were going, okay, well, we'll help you out. We'll do strategies. We'll do calls. We'll watch. We'll help in whatever way we can. And then once you clear, we'll cycle us in, and then we'll go again for more clears. So we get world second, third, and first clear, world second clear for us three. And then apparently, this is largely hearsay, someone went back on the deal. So one of the 3 people who were left out then leaked footage of them using third-party tools, effectively full-on cheating with Zoom hacks to see way more. And there was even a very I won't give the name, but there's a very popular FF14 streamer and YouTuber who someone in their party was using hacks to make AoEs visible where they're going to land before you should know. And you go, oh, this community's been on fire over third-party tools, and to the point where the director has to come out and issue this massive statement, more or less saying, I'm really disappointed in you. We're making really hard content. Why should we do this if you're just going to cheat? They're oh, third-party tools are
disappointed,
bad,
father.
Bad stuff. But also, from an outside, really funny, I think, just having people... It's a tale as old as time online. People think they're important. They go on ego trips. Yep. They learn very badly how they're not. It's great.
There's just a corner of the internet that's went mad.
Yeah. Oh,
so yes, and I think GitHub have taken them down for being malware.
Yep, of course.
That. Now another thing that's been taken down is Crime Site, which is the Among Us style social deduction game from Konami. You can see it as a vibrant audience of numbers such as 5 24-hour peak and 2 people playing 14 minutes ago. All-time peak of 562 players, which is incredible. Nice. But basically, didn't find an audience, and released April 2022, killed January 2023. On to the next one.
We're getting very quick. I think we just maybe released a video talking about how live services are dead all the time. We mentioned Crime Site and that. I think it's unfortunate because Konami making video games, and they're not just going, let's make whatever. I never played it, but I looked at the trailer because I was like, what is this? What are Konami doing? And I was like, that looks really... I don't want to say it looked great, but it looked interesting. It looked creative. It looked like, oh, you've tried. Well done, Konami, you've tried. Like they have with the Yu-Gi-Oh game that was doing extremely well there.
What?
A while ago. Oh yeah, the
Master Jewel.
Yeah. And that was doing extremely well. So it's like, that's Konami trying, and they succeeded. And you go, oh my God, Konami can do things. No, it's not shut down, don't worry.
That's what I was... Wow, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, oh, Konami are actually trying. Koei management thinks it's unfortunate this one didn't pan out. But maybe they'll try again and find something better. Maybe.
Well, if you are one of the 52 people in the last 24 hours who are playing Metal Gear Survive together, it might not exist soon as well.
Yeah.
But there is a final bit of hilarity
to
drop on everybody. So, you should know this, by the way. The PlayStation Plus collection, right? That had 20 of the the really big games from Sony and their partners. That was a perk of PlayStation Plus. Is going to be going away. Obviously, the new PlayStation Plus premium tier has got the Game Pass library, right? So you won't need it as much, but in the case that there's not parity or whatever, download them now. But if you don't have PS Plus, it's not like you'll be able to access them anyway.
Yeah, it is a thing. I think this was very much an onboarding thing, and it's less Sony are destroying this feature. It is a little bit more, hey, this is deprecated because most of these games are in the library anyway. But it also is like, they kind of probably want to cycle out and get some legacy sales on those if they're not in there. Kind of go, oh yeah, why are we giving these games away for free again? Whoops, whatever.
Yeah, it's like you already have the incredible value add service anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Though, as Chris Schilling pointed out, which is very funny, the PlayStation Plus collection is closing. Thank you for your continued support. Play has no limits.
Yeah.
Just because of where their tagline was in their email, it does come off kind of funny.
Yeah.
Overall innocent enough from Sony, given the actual sort of new PlayStation Plus.
Yeah,
service,
just a little bit more of a PSA for if there's any of those that aren't, go pick them up, because PS Plus is pretty good about you claim it, you have it forever as long as you're sub to PS Plus.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. There's also some good ass games on there too.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings us to the end of the roundup. If you would like to support what we're doing, I think that the best way to do that is to go and check out The Pale Beyond. It is the video game that we've been making for a few years, and it's coming out in 2 weeks on the 24th of February. So check that out on Steam if it interests you. Give it a wish list. Other than that, check out this video next, and we will see you next time.